Hey, what's up, guys? You're now listening to Devo with Uncle Theo. Today is day 253, and we're going to cover Ezekiel chapters 33 through 36. So we've seen some prophecies against the nations. In these next few verses, we're going to get some powerful verses regarding comfort for Israel. And similar to the motto of how Isaiah operated, you remember the first half of that book was on judgment, and the second half was on comfort. Ezekiel isn't divided half and half. We're going to start to enter into some comfort language. But first, we'll start with Ezekiel's call as a watchman. So it says here, the word of the Lord came to me, son of man, speak to your people and say to them, when I bring the sword against the land and the people of the land choose one of their men to make him their watchman, and he sees the sword coming against the land and blows the trumpet and warns the people, then if anyone hears the trumpet but does not heed the warning and the sword comes and takes their life, the blood will be on their own head. Since they heard the sound of the trumpet but did not heed the warning, their blood would be on their own head. If they had heeded the warning, they would have saved themselves. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet and warn the people, and the sword comes and takes someone's life, that person's life will be taken because of their sin, but I will hold the watchman accountable for their blood. Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the people of Israel. So hear the word I speak and give them warning from me. When I say to the wicked, you wicked person, you will surely die, and you do not speak out to dissuade them from their ways, that wicked person will die for their sin, but I will hold you accountable for their blood. But if you do warn a wicked person to turn away from their ways, and they do not do so, they will die for their sin, though you yourself will be saved. It says, son of man, say to the Israelites, this is what you're saying. Our offenses and sins weigh us down, and we are wasting away because of them. How then can we live? Say to them, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, I will take no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but rather that they turn from their ways and live. Turn from your evil ways. Why will you die, people of Israel? Therefore the Son of Man says to your people, if someone who is righteous disobeys, that person's former righteousness will count for nothing. And if someone who is wicked repents, that person's former wickedness will not bring condemnation. The righteous person who sins will not be allowed to live even though they were formerly righteous. If I tell a righteous person that they will surely live, but then they trust in their righteousness and do evil, none of the righteous things that person has done will be remembered. They will die for the evil they have done. And if I say to a wicked person, you will surely die, but then they turn away from their sin and do what is just and right, that person will surely live and will not die. None of the sins the person has committed will be remembered against them. They have done what is just and right. They will surely live. Yet your people say the way of the Lord is not just, but it is their way that is not just. Here in chapter 33, we're starting to get a new message. Ezekiel has seen God's presence, that God has an agenda to fill the world from the inside out. Israel is a dead nation, and God has to tear everything down so he can rebuild. So in these remaining chapters, that's what you have here. Starting in chapter 33, God is saying, yes, I will build that back. And in fact, here in chapter 34, God is saying, I looked for shepherds and I could not find any. So I became a shepherd. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that powerful? The Lord is my shepherd. Jesus came and saw them as sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach. So we're learning that the Messiah is God. Isaiah prophesied the same thing, and that the Messiah is the perfect priest, prophet, and king that Israel never had. And that's exactly what Jesus is proclaiming in John 10 when he says, I am the good shepherd. That is so offensive to the religious leaders. You know why? Well, it's offensive on two levels. One, he's claiming to be God. He's pulling from here in Ezekiel 34. And two, he's indicting them. He's saying, I'm the good shepherd. And consequently, that means I see no good shepherds around. It's an indictment on all the religious leaders. All the human leaders are terrible. And I'm here to judge you and teach my sheep and cause them to lay in green grass, just like I did in Psalm 23. And in chapter 35, we have a prophecy against Edom. He says, the word of the Lord came to me, son of man, set your face against Mount Seir, prophesy against it and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against you, Mount Seir, and I will stretch out my hand against you and make you a desolate waste. I will turn your towns into ruins and you will be desolate. Then you will know that I am the Lord. And so God is calling for Israel's restoration and continuing to prophesy against Israel's enemies. And Edom is another one. Historically, we've seen that relationship that Jacob and Esau reconciled, but their children did not. Israel and the Edomites had problems all throughout history. Edom was a constant enemy of Israel, and they knew the story of Jacob's deception with Esau and the blessing and that whole historical narrative. And you just didn't see the forgiveness in the descendants like you did in the brothers. And so God pronounces judgment over that nation. Even in verse 15, he says, because you rejoice when the inheritance of Israel became desolate, that is how I will treat you. You will be desolate, Mount Seir, you and all of Edom, and they will know that I am the Lord. And we end here in chapter 36, a very famous chapter. And it says in this text, I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. I will cleanse you from all of your filthiness and from all of your idols. Moreover, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will be careful to observe my ordinances. And remember, they're wondering if God abandoned them, and God is saying, listen, I didn't abandon you, but I must judge my people, but I won't leave you. In fact, I will be so close to you that I will be inside you, in your heart. And this is the most intimate as it gets. And this is what Ezekiel 36 reminds us of, that our personal relationship with God should not be taken for granted, because it was not always this way. It's a gift, and we need to daily commune with the Lord, because it's a tremendous privilege to do so. So thank you for walking with me through the scriptures to see that. And I pray that you continue to do so all the days of your life. But all the days of your life starts with one day. And that day is day 253 right now in year 2024. Let's get this year right before we worry about future and subsequent years.
Hey.